Hi everyone, welcome to the fifth episode of podcast of Jaipuria Institute of Management, Lucknow. And today our featured guest is none other than Mr. Sharat Pradhan, who is a very senior journalist. And to talk about his professional journey, it's I think almost more than or close to 5 decades of professional experience that he carries with himself. So instead of me going at length and talking about his professional journey, I would request you, sir, to just walk us through your professional experience and tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. First of all, let me thank you and your institute for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be around. And there is. If I begin, I took off way back in the late 70s, and as you rightly said, I'm getting close to half a century in the profession. But it's been every minute has been very full of vibrance and full of good memories, I would say, because my feeling is that you take up anything, you need to have to be successful. You need to have a passion for your work. And when you do it with passion, then there's a lot of satisfaction. And journalism is a profession which is unlike most other professions. Every day is a new day. Because the most stale thing in life, in everybody's life, is yesterday's newspaper.
Exactly.
Because nobody wants to read yesterday's newspaper. And news means what is happening now.
And what's new.
Yeah, what is new.
Yeah.
So that is the one big thrill that you have in this profession, and that keeps you going. It has kept me going for such a long time.
So of course, you're going to tell us about your entire professional journey. But how did it dawn on you to become a journalist first thing?
Interesting, very interesting question. And yes, like in those days, not so much today. The first thing that used to come to your mind and to your parents' mind, in those days, parents had a lot of influence on your career, was civil services. Anybody who's slightly above average would be naturally inclined to go for civil services. And that is what I had also thought. And I pursued but after taking one attempt, I decided to call it a day and take two, because my interest was in something to do with public affairs. So I said, no, now I'm not making a second attempt. Those days you could appear 3 times. So I said, no, let's go for journalism. This is again something in which you take up the cause of common people. Whatever is wrong, you have the wherewithal and the mechanism to take it up for them. So that used to give a lot of satisfaction. Then I started with the National Herald, which in those days was a Congress news, known as a Congress newspaper, though in real life, I never allowed it to the Congress or the Congress ideology or the Congress people to dominate me. And even as a young journalist, and I had never found any hurdles. So it began with that, and there were a lot of things happening and that those days it was the largest selling newspaper here in Lucknow.
So this is like 50 years ago, almost.
Almost. This is the late 70s. And then came the Times of India in 1983. And I switched to the Times of India. That was the first time Times of India ever came to Lucknow. There were 2 other English newspapers here, Northern India Patrika and Pioneer, which was the oldest of the newspapers. And Pioneer was, at that point of time, like morning cup of tea for people. So when Times of India came, it had a different flavor, a different color, a national newspaper coming to the state. So that gave us a lot of challenges and opportunities. So, and I was ready to write and cover on anything. And right from the beginning.
Did it never scare you any time?
Oh, many occasions, people try to scare you. By even in Times of India, one minister tells me, oh, how are you writing? Why are you are writing like this against us? You are a Congress newspaper.
Yeah, exactly, because I asked the same question to one of our guests. So I was just trying to understand, because media happens to be, one very important pillar of democracy. And it is believed that the journalists have to work with all fairness. So is it that there's always this soft nudge to sort of do things according to a particular unit or a government, or
This is where has been there. Today it's become much worse. But in those days, I found that it did not come in my way. Like as I said, that a very important minister next to the chief minister, he told me, he confronted me with this, how are you writing like this against us? This is a Congress news. I said, you are mistaken. Nobody ever told me that this is a Congress newspaper. Somebody might have told you, my editor says it's not. And I told my editor, said, very good. No, what you need is when you stick to truth, and you get more conviction. And when you are sticking to truth, you don't hesitate to speak out. And which is what I did at every occasion. Whenever there were many such instances when they tried to nudge you on the wrong side, they tried to pressurize you, I never cowed down. And somehow, I always sailed through.
And I think that sticking to truth only gives
That gives,
power.
in journalism, I still feel that if you stick to truth, then no harm can befall you. No kind of pressure can overwhelm you. And there is no fear takes over. Then you get that so much strength. Truth has so much strength in itself that you can carry on with any situation. You can deal with any situation. And in my case, I felt a lot of opposition of various kinds. But I was never cowed down. I continued, and I'm still going ahead.
Yeah. So you've also worked with Reuters and IANS and so many other reputed names. You said that you also wrote for Outlook magazine.
Sunday, I even wrote, of late I've written for India Today also. Then I continue to write for Deccan Herald. I forget the long list of places. Those days there was Illustrated Weekly. And then there were a number of foreign publications also. I wrote for them. I continue to write. Even the Week hired me to specially do a cover story for them, which is very unusual for them because they have their staff all over the place on the Hindi heartland in this Lok Sabha election. So they carried a 14-page cover story, which is again rare for an outsider to be writing for them. Then the front line, they asked me to write articles. So that's how I continue to write for the BBC. And I write in Hindi. I've always been an English journalist. So, every time the opportunity comes, you have to take it as a challenge. And somehow it has been within me that anything, why can't I do it? When X can do it, why can't I do it?
Exactly.
And somehow I never had any problem.
And I think that's the only key to learning.
Exactly. That you should have an open mind. Never start thinking that you are Aflatun and you are all-knowing. Always be ready to learn. And I would be very happy to pick up small things from very young journalists. Even today, I tell them, you've done a great job. I'm lifting this idea from you and going to write. And it gives me a lot of satisfaction. Then that's how when I got an opportunity to do TV. ETV was the first, they offered me to do a show. A talk show. I had never done it in my life. So I said, why can't I do it when this fellow can do it? Why can't I do it? And it was so successful. It was a weekly show. I interviewed a whole lot of people, all kinds of people, politicians, film stars.
So that was a very new experience.
That was a new experience for me. And it took time. And since I was always open to learning, so I always continue to evolve myself. And with that, I started getting opportunity to go to various channels. Then they started inviting me as a political analyst and expert.
And also because of maybe, I think, the kind of fearless attitude that you carry with yourself and then sort of...
Probably, I know.
So you speak your mind.
I speak my mind. And they knew that he is not getting influenced or biased. Because in the world of politics, they make every effort to influence journalists. And sometimes journalists, I'm not saying that every journalist gets influenced, but sometimes journalists do get influenced for a variety of reasons. I think everybody understands that. So when they know the big channels, they used to call me on their special panel, national panel, on elections. So many Lok Sabha elections, I've been on the national panel of channels like India Today, Aaj Tak, CNN, IBN. then NDTV,
Yeah.
all these major channels. Today I still go to channels as a political analyst, but there are some channels where I don't like to go for obvious reasons that they appear too biased on one side.
Yes.
So why waste one's energy on?
Yeah. So, sir, since you have seen the whole industry so close, do you see any kind of change in the media industry 20 years ago and media industry in today's times?
Very, very good question, because it's a fact. There's been a world of a change in the last 20 years in particular. More in the last 15 years. But 20 years, yes, a lot has, everything evolves,
Yeah.
So even in media, there's been a lot of evolution of various kinds. But earlier, I think it was easier for people to withstand pressures.
Yeah.
It was easier for journalists to carry out their tasks because you were not racing against time.
Yes.
And with the advent of internet, it became now the races of time.
Yes.
That is why you find that they will give you half-baked truths.
Yes.
Now something has happened somewhere, a major tragedy has occurred, earthquake has happened,
Yeah.
accident occurred. Now without verifying, they will just go down because now time is running out, their show is at this time, they will go. So, which is what brought a lot of bad name also. These are certain things. Accuracy is something that I learned from Reuters. Unfortunately, the Indian media houses, they were never so hung up on accuracy of facts.
Yes.
So, you could write sources told you.
Yeah.
So you could write anything that came to your mind and attribute it to sources.
Yes.
But when I start working for Reuters, then they would ask, what do you mean by sources? You mean a number of people came and announced to you in a chorus?
How credible are those sources?
That is something I mean, it is remarkable the way these foreign agencies work. For them, accuracy is extremely important. They want facts. There should be no doubt about. Even if I don't, supposing you gave me some information and I'm not supposed to disclose your name,
Yes.
they'll say, fine, you don't disclose, but are you convinced that this is correct?
Yes,
That so-and-so said this. So that further, strengthens your conviction for truth. Okay, you have to. And at the same time, speed. Now with the internet, you have to be accurate also. You have to be prompt. And
More about promptness these days rather than being.
that is the unfortunate part.
Yeah.
Actually, because people don't want to slog.
Yeah.
If you are really in for, even now, I never utter a word unless I'm very sure. Well, I know my source. If I know that you are a very credible source, you have said something, I have in the back of my mind ki because you are saying it, so there is this element of truth. Galat nahi ho sakta. So one has to discern immediately ki okay, this person gives you. So how much of it to be discounted? Which I think over a period of time one learns.
Individual has his or her reason also, so you need to analyze as well. I think that the power to analyze things has gone.
And now you have to do it fast. And so, and if you are aware of whatever is happening, if you are reading the tragedy today is a lot of journalists don't read their own stories. So how will you know? So you ought to know because you're in the business of news as journalists. So where news is concerned, you should be aware of what is happening. And that is possible only if you are busy. Now everything is available on the phone if you can't read a newspaper. But if your facts are correct, then nobody can cause any harm to you.
Yes, exactly.
And if you have the courage to put those facts out, then again, you are on a strong, firm footing and a safe footing.
But the problem is that this courage comes from facts only. If
Absolutely.
you're able to establish facts, the courage automatically comes in.
Yeah, sometimes people have facts, they don't have the courage to speak. I've seen, which is rare, but it should automatically come. If you are upright and straight, and you are particular about facts, truth,
And the people do listen to you.
then people listen to you. People listen to you.
You said that I've learned some really very good things from you. One is the role of integrity in every professional's life, be it media as an industry or maybe when we apply to any individual professional also. And secondly, when you speak, when you communicate, you should do it on the basis of facts. Now, we also have a lot of management students. How do you really think that these two components, fact-based communication and the role of integrity in one's life, how important is it for every professional?
I think integrity is something which is extremely important
Because you know why?
in any profession.
Because you know why I asked you this question was because when some people define integrity, they say, "Okay, yeah, I am honest in certain situations, but some situations is like so."
No, I think honesty is something which cannot be compromised.
Situation-based,
It's actually,
yeah.
it can't be situation based.
Exactly.
And if you are stick to honesty
Yeah.
and stick to, obviously then you will stick to facts.
Yes.
They, for a management student, sometimes there has to be an element of tact.
Yes.
You can be honest, upright, and at the same time
Exactly.
use tact, because ultimately the idea is to promote your business. So sometimes your facts may cause harm to yourself. So how you weave those facts
Yes.
is your skill. But leadership, if you and leadership is important in management.
Yes.
Integrity pays,
Yes.
because you know in the back of your mind.
Then it has its own cost also. Let us accept this fact. It has.
It will have. So that one should be ready to pay.
Yes. Yes.
But in the long run,
Yeah.
it helps you.
Yes.
What they say, honesty is the
Yeah.
best policy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will have hurdles.
Yeah.
You may have to pay the cost, but in the long run, you will be a far more satisfied and a happy man.
Yeah. Very true, sir. Very true.
And happiness is quotient in life is
The most
extremely.
important thing these days, yeah. And a lot of people say, and I really like what you said, a lot of people say that straight trees are cut first. Honest doesn't mean that you become a straight tree and then you allow people to literally slit you through. But I think it's more about being tactful. The same thing can be said in a more, polite and a more firm style rather than being very aggressive and then sort of being candid.
It is one point when you talked about straight trees get cut.
Yeah.
First, that's one interpretation.
Yeah.
The other side is
Yeah.
a straight tree provides you what branches cannot.
Yeah.
That whole trunk can be
Yeah.
utilized.
Yes.
So the kind of service it renders
Yeah.
for all kinds of things.
Yes.
A tree with
Nobody
multiple
else
branches
can.
cannot.
Yes, exactly.
So a straight tree is ultimately better than those
A
trees.
good thing, provided you be a little tactful when it comes
You
to
when it comes
presenting yourself.
you can be tactful without being dishonest.
Yes, actually.
Honesty should remain.
Yeah, but
So you can be there is, tact doesn't mean that you are compromising.
Manipulating. Yes,
Then
in
then
fact,
you are not
yeah.
honest. Then you are not
Exactly,
honest.
Exactly.
That may give you short-term gains,
Right.
but in the long run, that will cost you dear.
So much to learn from your experiences. I wish that this interview continues for an hour or so, but due to paucity of time, I'll have my last question now. Certain piece of advice that you would like to share with our listeners, particularly keeping the students in mind, the young minds.
Well, I would say that the advice for students in any, and more particularly in a profession of management, in a management institute, is integrity is important. They must know this. And because more often than not, business leads to a lot of things which are not commensurate with honesty.
Yes.
And manipulations.
Yes.
And financial manipulations.
Exactly.
That is something where they have to stick to their guns. And if they decide, okay, this is my focus here, and I have to stick to my guns without compromising on my integrity.
Yeah.
I can carry out. You can have good skills. You concentrate on skills. You must evolve yourself.
Exactly.
And I am sure honesty will pay. If you on day one think honesty, I can get caught, and then you are not.
Yes.
You have to, and you should be ready to face the challenge and take risks.
Take risk. Exactly.
After all, you take risk in a career.
Yes.
You leave jobs. Okay, we'll switch. If you have the confidence in yourself, then you can take the risk.
Yeah.
I've taken a lot of risks in life.
Yes.
In career also, and never looked back.
Yeah.
If you're looking forward, and for a management students is extremely important.
Yeah.
Look ahead. Don't look back. Look back, only think of the wrongs that you have done, improve on those, learn from it, and move ahead. And never say no, and never succumb to wrong pressures. Pressures, yes, in a hierarchy, you have to understand there is a.
There are ways to diffuse pressure.
Ways to do.
It's not just the unethical way or.
Absolutely. You can do it, same thing. You can handle your boss who may be wanting you to do some certain illegal things, immoral things. There are ways to handle him and make him understand. You need to evolve yourself, develop your own skills, because if your focus is on the right, then you will be able to do it. But have the confidence that you will do it.
Absolutely.
Never lose confidence, never lose focus.
Having that vision, having strong moral principles, the moral science that was taught to us during.
Now unfortunately, it is not taught in.
But I think at some level, every individual needs to reflect on those morals. Every person should have those guiding morals in one's life.
Very true.
They are the ones which keep on guiding.
Unfortunately, our morality of late is becoming gradually, as you know, there is deterioration everywhere across the globe. The morality is the last quotient in one's life. So, which is very unfortunate. I mean, even in your times, you're so much younger, but you must have had this moral science, as you said. Today, there is no such teaching. And people think they become so superficial that they think that if they follow a few spiritual rituals, religious rituals, they think all the morality is done. Now it's over. Now let's get back to normal business. So that is not neither morality nor spirituality. You have to understand that a few rituals don't make you a good human being.
Exactly.
They don't make you a religious person. They are only rituals being carried out very mechanically, and they don't lead anywhere. So stick to honesty, integrity. You will become a good human being, and focus yourself. Look forward.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for, first of all, for accepting our invitation, and secondly, for sharing such precious wisdom bites. It's very difficult to get these kind of insights and from such learned professionals.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be amongst you, and what I said is life's own experience.
Which cannot be found in books. No one to tell us this kind of learning experience. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.